Avni, we are very, very thrilled to be here and to be talking to you. And, I want to start by asking you, like, to describe the emotion that you felt when you came to know about your admission.
Yeah, sure. So my result was coming out at 3:30. So I decided to stay up because I obviously wasn't going to be able to sleep. And at 3:30, I was on call with my friend and I just saw the result. And the first thing that started playing was the Yale song. So there's a Yale bulldog in the middle and he's just singing the Yale song. And I was really confused because I was like, what's happening? And then finally went to the confetti and the congratulations message and I just started screaming. At which point my mom and my grandparents entered into my room thinking I was being murdered in the middle of the night. Obviously, that was not the case. And yeah, we were just then all really excited that I just got into yeah. So it was like a real surreal feeling, honestly. Yeah.
Wow, and I'm sure, like, I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And can you talk to me about like the kind of support you received from Crimson? Talk to me about like who was your strategist? How did they help you?
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So my strategist was Claire, and I think she really helped me with seeing the direction of my profile. So I came into Crimson through the Crimson Access Opportunity Program. So when I was applying, I had to fill in all my activities. So I sort of had the like foundational stones of my profile already in place. And then what Claire was really able to help me with was seeing what parts were ones that were really shining, ones that we needed to prioritize, and then simply using things I'd already done to weave together a common thread. So for me, all of my activities, for example, really seemed to indicate my interest in law and public policy. And so that's something that I was then exploring through the rest of my essays as well. So I think that's where she really helped me. And I think the other thing that Crimson also really helped me with was just essays. So I remember that when I applied to Crimson, I had to write an essay. But the essay that I wrote was the essay that I eventually ended up submitting. I think the quality difference is insane. And it honestly just taught me to brainstorm so much as well, to just to have someone to talk out my ideas with. Because I remember I got this brainstorming doc with like 5 pages worth of questions, and I just wrote answers to all of them. And then my counselor, she went through every single answer and read. She's like reading all of the thoughts I have about these different things, and then she was asking me questions like, "Oh, that seems interesting. Can you talk to me more about that?" So I think it's just having someone to also guide you in your ideas and talk through them that was really helpful in the support that Crimson was able to provide me.
Wow. And you told me you just said that the essay you wrote for Crimson and then the essay you finally submitted, like there was a ton of difference in
Yeah.
that. Can you talk to me about like what was that difference and how did that come about? Like what was the kind of feedback you were
Yeah.
receiving from your app mentor and like how did that help?
So, well, the first really big difference was they were about different topics. Like the topic that I ended up writing upon was not a topic that I even thought about writing an essay on initially. It was, well, she thought it was something interesting in one of my answers I'd written in the brainstorming document. And she was like, let's just explore this a little bit more. And then that one thought turned into an entire topic proposal that we did. And I think also in terms of quality, the thing with Crimson was at every point of the essay, they were really asking me really insightful questions. She's like, if I said something like, and then I had this realization or like a change in the way I was thinking, it should be like, but why? Was there any specific turning point that caused you to have that change? What was going on in your head? How would you describe it? Describe the setting for me. So I think it was really just asking me more questions and like pushing me to think forward that really helped bring my essay from an essay that was like sort of just telling the story to an essay that was really showing the growth I was going through and showing who I was as a person. Yeah.
If you were to share like your learnings throughout this process, I know it's like very arduous. It's I know I like it's crazy. So and I think there must be so many students aspiring to do this now. And
Yeah.
what would be some of the learnings you want to share?
I think the one thing is the college application process, while it's really stressful, I think also just gives you a really great opportunity to introspect. So I remember Crimson had us do this one thing that was called the values exercise, which is just you have these 50 different values and you're supposed to pick the values that are the most important to you and you keep shortlisting until you get to 12, then you get to 3 of them. So I think it's also just figuring out things that are important to you that is something the college process really helps you with. So it was through this that I really discovered the one thing that I think was very clear in my application was that I'm someone who enjoys complexity and I'm someone who enjoys nuance. And that is a quality about myself that's unique that I would not have recognized had it not been for this process. I think the other thing that I really learned is just the value of staying calm. Yeah, because I was honestly freaking out so much before the Yale decision. Like I was really stressed before my Yale application. I was really stressed before my Yale interview, and I didn't know how any of that had gone until the decision. But I think it works out in the end. You have to like faith in the process. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Um, and what according to you now you are in, right?
Mhm.
And you must have thought about like, okay, so what is that one thing that might have made me stand out in this whole
Mhm.
pool of applicants? So what would be that if you were to
I think the first thing for me was definitely my involvement within debate.
Hmm.
So I am a part of the Indian debate team, and as a result, represent the country every year at the World Schools Debate Championship. And that is a competition that happens at the international level. It's the highest possible level of high school debating. And within it, in 2023, I was a judge, the sixth best speaker in the world at that point. And I think that was one thing in my application that I believe was more standout than others, just because it is a rare accomplishment for people to have. I think the second thing that I think might have stood out for me is I really think that through my essays, what I was trying to do was show the way that I think. And that was what my Common App was centered about. My Common App was about how debate and other things in my life have meant that I often hold really contradictory beliefs, and why I think that holding contradictory beliefs is actually something that is valuable. And within my academic interest essay, for example, for Yale, I was explaining how I think about the legal system of government institutions in general, which is just they're impacted not only by moral factors, but also by economic and other factors. And that's why I want to study ethics, politics, and economics at Yale. So I think it was really just trying to show my internal thought processes that was really valuable in the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's such a fantastic answer. Thank you so much for elaborating on that.
Yeah.
And you are in months of May, June now, and you're that final lap, right? Like you
Yeah.
have put in all that hard work, and now
Yeah.
that is going to count.
Mhm.
Now, talk to me through how specifically Crimson mentors and strategists, and how did they help you go through those 4 months? Like, what was happening? What were your interactions with them? What
Yeah.
stood out to you in those conversations?
Sure. So I remember when I got in Crimson, my first month was sort of like end May and then beginning June. That was the point where we were just finalizing my activities list and finalizing how to write it in a very specific way, like how to make my activities sound as impressive as possible. So that was just sort of the part of the Common App that goes to everyone, the part of the Common App that was already done. And I think that was therefore less stressful. The part that was really stressful after that was when I started working on my Common App essay. And I went through so many drafts of it. Like I remember I went through first three different ideas before landing on the one that I wanted to go through with. And when we had that idea, I had so many people within Crimson even read it as well. So it went through 2 rounds of Crimson essay review team. I went to office hours, and there were so many senior app mentors who were also reading it. My app mentor, my strategist both read it so many times that I think all three of us just remembered the essay verbatim. Like you could ask all three of us to recite the essay, and we would perfectly be able to. So that Common App essay really was the focus of the next month, where we were just perfecting it down to every detail. And then after we tabled it, I, coming into Crimson, knew that Yale was going to be my top choice school, and I wanted to apply early to Yale. So that's when we started really thinking about the Yale supplementals and then drafting answers to those. And then I think I was actually pretty early in the process. So I was done with Yale with like a month to go. And I was just getting more feedback on Yale, but at the same time, I was starting to do other RD applications at the same time. Yeah.
Got it. Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Mhm.
I think I would open it up to for you to share anything that I might not have covered here. Yeah, like I would love to hear like how overall your experience working with Crimson was, and anything that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, I think the two things I'll add here is one, Crimson, I also got, because being part of the Crimson Access Opportunity Program, I also got a lot of help with the CSS profile. And I think that was one aspect that I really appreciated because for international students specifically, I think the financial aid form is sort of really complicated. It asking for so much information, and you have to figure out which forms it's asking that information from. So I think really just having a financial aid mentor that I could ask questions to as well was really helpful. And I remember we had meetings where he went through my entire CFS as well and everything as I was filling it. So I think that was one part of the process that was really helpful. I think the second thing is I loved how approachable all of my mentors were and how amenable they were to find a common ground. Like it really seemed like what they wanted was for me to be able to best put like my best foot forward, but at the same time to also for me to have control over my narrative. Like there were points at which, for example, this is one disagreement I had with the application mentor where I was writing my essay for Vanderbilt and I had a Taylor Swift reference in it, and she was like, "What if they don't get it?" And I was like, "I think I'm still gonna include it." So it was just like it was sort of a give and take process, but at the end of the day, they really emphasized that I was the person in charge and I was the one who was going to decide how I wanted colleges to perceive me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.